At my 60th birthday dinner, my friend warned me, "Don't drink that." 5 minutes later, I collapsed. The last thing I remember before my world went black was the taste of champagne turning bitter on my tongue and my best friend Monica's voice screaming my name as the restaurant floor rushed up to meet my face. But let me start from the beginning, from the moment I should have noticed that something was terribly wrong with my husband's sister, because what happened at my 60th birthday dinner wasn't just attempted murder. It was the culmination of years of jealousy and hatred that I had been too trusting to recognize. My name is Vanessa Clark, and I'm 60 years old now, though I almost didn't make it to see this milestone. I've been married to my husband Thomas for 35 years, and for most of that time, his younger sister Patricia has been a constant presence in our lives and a constant source of tension that I tried my best to ignore for the sake of family peace. Thomas and I met when we were both in our mid-20s, young and full of dreams about building a life together. We married after 2 years of dating, and I thought I was gaining not just a husband, but a whole new family. Thomas's parents had passed away years before we met, so it was just him and Patricia, who was 19 at the time and still finding her way in the world. From the very beginning, Patricia made it clear that she didn't approve of me. She would make snide comments about my appearance, my education, my family background. At our wedding, she wore white, not ivory, not cream, but pure white, and positioned herself in every family photo as if she were competing with me for prominence. "She's just protective of her brother," Thomas would say whenever I tried to talk to him about Patricia's behavior. "She's been through a lot losing our parents. She just needs time to accept that I have a wife now." But 35 years later, Patricia still hadn't accepted it. She had never married, never had children of her own, and had built her entire life around being Thomas's sister, his confidant, his first priority. My existence threatened that position, and she had spent 3.5 decades resenting me for it. What I didn't know was that Patricia's resentment had slowly curdled into something far more dangerous, obsessive hatred that was planning my death. Over the years, there had been small incidents that I dismissed as accidents or Patricia's general carelessness around me. A few years ago, I got severe food poisoning after eating potato salad Patricia had brought to a family picnic. She claimed the mayonnaise must have gone bad, but I was the only one who got sick. Last year, I nearly fell down a flight of stairs at Patricia's house after she, accidentally, left her mop bucket at the top of the landing in the dark. 6 months ago, my medication for high blood pressure mysteriously went missing from my purse during a family dinner at Patricia's apartment, and I had to skip several doses before I could get to the pharmacy. Each time, Patricia had a reasonable explanation. Each time, Thomas defended his sister. Each time, I convinced myself I was being paranoid and unfair. But my best friend Monica had been watching Patricia's behavior toward me for years, and she saw what I was too kind to acknowledge, that Patricia hated me and was capable of acting on that hatred. "Vanessa, that woman wants you dead," Monica told me bluntly about 6 months before my birthday. "The way she looks at you when she thinks no one is watching, it's pure hatred. And all these accidents that keep happening around her, that's not coincidence." "Monica, you're being dramatic," I said, laughing off her concerns. "Patricia and I will never be close, but she's not trying to kill me. She's just difficult." "Promise me you'll be careful around her," Monica insisted. "Don't eat or drink anything she gives you. Don't trust her. Something terrible is going to happen if you keep giving her opportunities." I promised Monica I'd be more cautious, but in truth, I thought she was overreacting. Patricia was unpleasant and jealous. But murder? That seemed like something from a television drama, not real life. My 60th birthday was approaching, and Thomas wanted to throw me a big celebration. He suggested we have an intimate dinner party at Romano's, an upscale Italian restaurant where we had celebrated our 25th anniversary. Thomas said he would handle all the arrangements, but Patricia immediately inserted herself into the planning. "Let me help, Tommy," she said, using the childhood nickname only she was allowed to use. "I know exactly what Vanessa would like. We should make this really special for her." The fact that Patricia suddenly wanted to help plan my party should have been my first warning. In 35 years, she had never volunteered to do anything nice for me. But Thomas was pleased that his sister seemed to be making an effort, and I didn't want to be the one to question her motives and look ungrateful. Patricia took over most of the planning, the menu, the flowers, the seating arrangements. She even insisted on personally selecting the wine and champagne for the evening. "I know a wonderful wine distributor," she told Thomas. "Let me handle the alcohol. I'll make sure we have the best bottles for Vanessa's special day." The night of my birthday, I dressed in a beautiful navy blue dress that Thomas had bought me, and we arrived at the restaurant to find the private dining room beautifully decorated. Patricia had done an impressive job: candles, flowers, and elegant place settings that looked like something from a magazine. Our guest list was small and intimate: our 2 adult children, Sarah and Michael, who had both flown in from out of state, Monica and her husband David, my younger sister Diane, and a few close friends. Patricia was there too, of course, playing the role of dutiful sister-in-law and helpful hostess. Throughout dinner, I noticed Patricia kept disappearing to speak with the servers, checking on things in the kitchen, hovering around the wine service. At the time, I thought she was just being unusually attentive to details. Now I know she was making sure everything was in place for what she had planned. The food was delicious, the conversation warm and full of laughter. My children shared funny stories about their childhoods, and Thomas gave a beautiful speech about our 35 years together and how grateful he was for every moment we'd shared. "To my beautiful wife," Thomas said, raising his glass. 60 years young, and still the love of my life. Here's to many more birthdays together." Everyone raised their glasses, and I felt overwhelmed with gratitude for this life I had built, this family I had raised, these friendships I had nurtured over decades. I raised the glass to my lips, ready to drink to this beautiful life I was so grateful for. "Vanessa, don't drink that." Monica's voice cut through the room like a siren. She lunged across the table and knocked the glass out of my hand before I could take even a sip. The champagne went flying. The glass shattered on the floor, and everyone stared at Monica in shocked silence. "What the hell, Monica?" Thomas said, confused and angry. "What are you doing?" "That champagne," Monica said, her voice shaking but determined. "Patricia poured it from a different bottle than everyone else's. Why would she do that unless there's something different about Vanessa's glass?" All eyes turned to Patricia, whose face had gone completely white. "That's insane," Patricia stammered. I just wanted to give Vanessa the best bottle. That's all. You're being paranoid and crazy." "Then drink it," Monica said, pointing to the spilled champagne on the floor. "If it's safe, if there's nothing wrong with it, then you drink it, Patricia." "I'm not drinking champagne off the floor," Patricia snapped. "This is ridiculous. You've always been jealous of my relationship with my brother and his wife. You're trying to cause drama." But Monica wasn't backing down. She turned to the server who had helped Patricia with the champagne service. "Sir, how many bottles of Dom Perignon did this woman bring into the restaurant tonight?" The server looked uncomfortable. "2 bottles, ma'am," she said. "One was for the table, and one was specifically for the birthday woman." She was very particular about which bottle was poured for which person. Thomas was staring at his sister now, confusion turning to suspicion. "Patricia, why would you bring 2 different bottles?" "I already explained that," Patricia said, but her voice was rising with panic. "I wanted Vanessa to have the best one. That's all." "David, call the police," Monica said to her husband. "Right now." What happened next was chaos. Patricia tried to run for the exit, but my son Michael blocked her way. She tried to claim this was all a misunderstanding, that Monica was mentally unstable and causing problems. But Thomas was finally seeing his sister clearly for the first time in his life. "What did you put in my wife's champagne?" Thomas demanded, his voice cold and hard in a way I'd never heard before. "Patricia, what did you do?" Patricia's face crumbled, and for just a moment, I saw pure hatred flash in her eyes as she looked at me. "You took everything from me," she hissed. "He was supposed to be mine. My brother, my family, my life. Then you came along and stole it all." The police arrived within minutes. The spilled champagne on the floor was carefully collected as evidence, and the second bottle, the one Patricia had poured my drink from, was secured and labeled. Patricia was handcuffed and arrested while screaming that she hadn't done anything wrong, that this was all a misunderstanding, that her brother would fix this. But Thomas just stood there watching his sister being led away, his face gray with shock and horror. The toxicology report came back 5 days later. The champagne from the bottle Patricia had poured for me contained a massive dose of antifreeze, ethylene glycol that would have caused kidney failure, brain damage, and almost certainly death within hours. The amount Patricia had put in my glass wasn't meant to make me sick. It was meant to kill me at my own birthday party. The police investigation revealed that Patricia had been planning this for months. They found her computer search history full of queries about untraceable poisons, how to make deaths look natural, inheritance laws, and life insurance policies. They found a journal where she had written page after page about how much she hated me, how I had ruined her life by marrying her brother, how the world would be better with me dead. Most chilling were her plans for after my death. Patricia had convinced herself that once I was gone, Thomas would turn to her for comfort and support. She would move in temporarily to help him through his grief. She would take over running his household, managing his life, being the most important woman in his world again. She had even written detailed plans about my funeral, about how she would comfort my children, about how she would finally have her brother back after 35 years of sharing him with me. The trial came 8 months later. Patricia was charged with attempted murder, and the evidence against her was overwhelming. The poisoned champagne, the search history, the journal, the testimony of the server, who described how insistent Patricia had been about which bottle was poured for me. Monica testified about the years of suspicious incidents she had witnessed, the food poisoning, the fall I nearly had, the missing medication. My children testified about how their aunt had always resented me, had always treated me with barely concealed contempt while putting on a false smile for their father. Thomas had to testify against his own sister. I watched him on the stand, this man I had loved for 35 years, finally acknowledging that his sister had tried to murder his wife. He looked broken, devastated by the betrayal. I wanted to believe Patricia was just protective, Thomas said, his voice thick with emotion. I wanted to believe that her behavior toward Vanessa was just typical sister-in-law friction. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. I chose my sister's feelings over my wife's safety for 35 years, and it almost cost Vanessa her life. Patricia was found guilty and sentenced to 25 years in prison. As she was led out of the courtroom, she looked at Thomas with tears streaming down her face. "Tommy, please," she begged. "I'm your sister. Tell them this was all a mistake. Tell them you'll take care of me." But Thomas just shook his head. "You tried to kill my wife," he said quietly. "You're not the sister I thought I knew. That was 9 months ago. Today I'm 61 years old and still processing the trauma of what happened. The navy blue dress from that night sits in my closet, and I haven't been able to wear it since. Every time I look at it, I remember the moment Monica knocked that glass from my hand and saved my life. My relationship with Thomas has been complicated since that night. He carries immense guilt about not protecting me from his sister, about dismissing my concerns and Monica's warnings for decades. We're in marriage counseling, working through the betrayal and the realization that he chose his sister's approval over my safety for most of our marriage. I failed you, Thomas told me during one of our counseling sessions. Every time Patricia hurt you, every time Monica warned me, every time you were uncomfortable, I chose to believe Patricia's excuses instead of protecting you. I'm so sorry, Vanessa. I almost lost you because I was too blind to see what my sister really was. Forgiveness is a process, and I'm working on it. Thomas isn't the villain in this story. Patricia is. But he was complicit through his willful blindness, and that's something we're both having to face. My friendship with Monica has deepened into something sacred. She literally saved my life by paying attention when no one else did, by trusting her instincts even when it meant making a scene at my birthday party. How did you know? I asked her months after the trial. What made you watch Patricia so closely that night? I've been watching her for years, Monica admitted. Every time something happened to you around her, I saw the look in her eyes afterward, satisfaction, almost pleasure. When she volunteered to plan your party after 35 years of treating you terribly, I knew something was wrong. And when I saw her pour your champagne from a different bottle while making sure no one noticed, I knew this was it. This was the moment she was going to try to kill you. You saved my life, I said, not for the first time. That's what friends do, Monica replied. We pay attention. We trust our guts. We make a scene when something's wrong, even if everyone thinks we're crazy. I attend a support group now for people who have survived murder attempts by family members. The stories I hear there are horrifying. Mothers poisoning daughters out of jealousy, siblings killing each other over inheritance, in-laws arranging accidents to get rid of unwanted family members. Family violence is often the most dangerous, the group facilitator explained, because we trust family members in ways we would never trust strangers. We eat food they prepare, we drink beverages they serve us, we go places alone with them. That trust gives them access and opportunity that would be impossible otherwise. My children have struggled with what their aunt tried to do. Sarah doesn't speak about Patricia at all, as if by not mentioning her, she can pretend this never happened. Michael is angry at his aunt for the attempt, angry at his father for enabling her for so long, angry at himself for not seeing the danger. She was at every birthday party, every holiday, every family celebration, Michael said to me recently. She was around us our whole lives, and the whole time she hated you enough to want you dead. How do you process that, Mom? How do you trust anyone after that? I don't have a good answer for him. Trust is harder now. I watch my food and drinks carefully. I'm hypervigilant at family gatherings. I have nightmares about that champagne glass, about what would have happened if Monica hadn't been paying attention. But I also know that not everyone is Patricia. Most people aren't secretly plotting murder. Most family tension is just normal human conflict, not homicidal hatred. I can't let Patricia's evil make me afraid of everyone. What I have learned is to trust the people who truly love me when they express concerns. Monica tried to warn me for years, and I dismissed her as being dramatic. If I had listened to her earlier, if I had set firmer boundaries with Patricia, maybe things wouldn't have escalated to attempted murder. The champagne Patricia tried to poison me with would have destroyed my kidneys and killed me within 12 hours. But Monica's courage and vigilance destroyed Patricia's plan instead and gave me years of life I wouldn't have had otherwise. My 60th birthday should have been a joyful celebration of reaching a milestone, surrounded by the people who loved me. Instead, it was the night I learned that jealousy can turn into hatred, that family members can be deadlier than strangers, and that sometimes the person who smiles at you across the dinner table is fantasizing about your funeral. But it was also the night I learned that true friendship means paying attention, trusting your instincts, and being willing to look crazy to save someone you love. Monica's gift to me wasn't the present she brought to the party. It was her refusal to stay silent when every fiber of her being screamed that I was in danger. Every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful for Monica's courage, for Thomas's painful awakening to truth, and for the life I still have to live. The champagne glass is long gone, but I can still taste that moment when it touched my lips, when I was seconds away from drinking poison while surrounded by people who loved me and had no idea what was about to happen. Patricia sits in prison now, probably still convinced that I'm the villain of this story, that I stole her brother and ruined her life. The truth is that Patricia ruined her own life through jealousy, hatred, and the inability to accept that her brother's love for me didn't diminish his love for her. Family is supposed to be the people who protect you, support you, celebrate with you. But sometimes family is the most dangerous place to be, and the people who smile at your birthday party are the ones planning your death. I survived because Monica loved me enough to trust her instincts, to make a scene, to knock poison from my hand, even though everyone thought she was crazy. That's the kind of love that saves lives. That's the kind of friendship that matters more than blood. And as I approach my 61st birthday, I know exactly how I want to celebrate it. Quietly at home, with Monica and my immediate family, drinking sparkling cider that I poured myself, grateful for every breath Patricia tried to steal from me. The navy blue dress is going to charity. The memory of that night will stay with me forever. But so will the knowledge that I'm alive because someone paid attention, Someone cared enough to watch for danger. Someone loved me enough to save my life, even at the risk of looking foolish. Some families are built on love. Some are built on obligation and resentment. And sometimes the person who has sat at your table for 35 years is the same person who has been waiting for the perfect moment to poison your glass. I'm one of the lucky ones. I survived. Monica saved me. And now I live each day grateful for the warning signs I finally learned to see, and for the friend who saw them long before I did.